In this video, I'm going to show you a very simple but very powerful consultation framework that you can use in your medical spa. So this isn't just some theory. I'm not just some random dude who looked this stuff up on the internet and is regurgitating it on YouTube. This is actually based on 3 different sources that's contributing to this framework. The first source is that my dad owns a med spa, and he's owned it for close to 15 years now. He's been doing consultations for about that time as well. He's an absolute expert, and he created the base for this framework. The second source is that I run a marketing agency for med spas. I've worked with hundreds of med spas, and I actually will travel to my med spas, do consultations for them, and validate the framework in their clinic. The third source is my own experience running sales for my agency. So I've done thousands of sales calls with med spa owners, and I've used that experience to contribute to this framework as well. So there's multiple sources contributing to this framework, which I believe make it much more powerful. So let's get to it. The first step is to discover why the prospect is there. In any sales situation, the very first step is to figure out why the person's actually there in the first place. And if they just give you a surface level answer like, hey, the deal looked really cool, or I just wanted to try out one of your treatments, you really want to dig further, because if they say that, that's probably not the actual reason they're there, right? They're probably there because they don't like the way they look and they want to look better. But if they don't admit that to you off the beginning, it will be very hard to actually sell them a full solution because you didn't even know what their base problem is. So the first step is to discover why they're there and use your genuine curiosity to really probe them and get to the bottom of it. You want to understand why they're actually there in the first place. The second step is to educate them. So once you understand why they're there, their motivation for coming in, you really want to educate them on how the skin ages. If you're doing a skincare consultation, or if you're doing body sculpting, you want to educate on that. And you want to give them a basis for why the problem is actually existing for them in the first place. So it's really helpful to have an iPad presentation. In this case, you can walk them through some sort of visual to educate them. And we use something called the 3 Ds of aging. So to explain the aging of the face, the first D is deterioration, which happens to the surface of the skin mainly. There's deflation, which is the fat pads getting smaller and when the skin actually loses volume. And then there's descent, which is where the skin sags. And that's just a very simple framework that we use to describe aging, and it makes it easier to connect all the different treatments to that framework and show how the treatments actually solve each D of aging. So you want to educate. You can also educate on the layers of the skin, and don't get too complicated, but keep it nice and simple. Give the person a nice framework to understand what you're going to talk about next. The third step is show and tell. So once you've educated them on their skin, the next step is to show them before and afters and case studies of patients who have already achieved the results that they're in there for the first place. So if the patient has a lot of pigmentation, you should show them before and after photos of patients who you solved pigmentation for. If patients have, thin lips or wrinkles, other issues, you should show them case studies of people who've had their issue, but then you're able to fix it. And this creates massive belief, because people aren't going to believe you as much if you just say, hey, we can fix that for you. It's not nearly as powerful as, hey, look, here's another client who we actually already fixed the issue, and here's what they look like now. So you really want to use your case studies, and if you don't have before and after photos and case studies, start collecting these now, because that's the tool that's going to allow you to create that belief during the consultation. And one more thing, if you have before and after photos of patients who've used a combination of therapies to get a really nice transformation, you want to show that as well, because that's going to stretch the belief of what that client believes is possible. Maybe they only think they can improve their pigmentation, but then you saw someone who you improved their pigmentation, their wrinkles, their laxity, and suddenly that patient is thinking, wow, I didn't even know that was possible, and now I'm excited to do even more treatments and possibly a package of treatments to get really good results. The fourth step is to temperature check and tie down some sort of timeline. This is very important, because in order to increase your closing rate, it will be very effective to offer some sort of incentive-based pricing or fast action bonus. People are driven by incentives, and they will have a much higher chance of signing up if you give them a reason to get started today. Now, don't confuse this with being pushy or salesy. There's actually a way to do this, which is very natural, but it requires you to tie down some sort of timeline. So after you've gone through the treatments, you want to sort of temperature check through the presentation and make sure it made sense to them. And if they seem enthused about getting some results, you want to ask them, well, like, when do you want to get results? When do you want to have that clear skin that you came in here for in the first place? And if they say, I'm not really ready for it, that's fine. What you can do is you can book a follow-up, right? So if someone's not ready during the first visit, you can say, that's fine. Why don't we book a follow-up? Maybe we can do some sort of intro treatment today. During your follow-up, when you've seen the initial results, you know us better, we can talk about some sort of plan. But if the person's super enthused and they want to get started today, you should say, great, that's awesome you said that, because we actually have some really good offers if you want to get started today. We like to reward clients who are ready to get started quickly, because we want to get them the fastest results possible. Once they say yes, you can put together a package for them, and you can give them a bonus if they get started today. Whether that's free skincare or an extra treatment, or you're adding treatments on the neck or the hands, whatever it is, you want to give someone a good deal. Doesn't matter how much money people have, everyone likes to feel like they've won the interaction. They want to feel like they've gotten a good deal. And the way you do that is establishing, agreeing that they want to get started today, and then rewarding them for getting started quickly. So that's the consultation framework that we use across the hundreds of clinics that we market for. And I hope you're able to integrate this into your sales process to increase your sales and get better results for your patients.